In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the First Nations people who have walked and cared for this land for thousands of years. We acknowledge their descendants who maintain their spiritual connection with this land and the traditions passed down from generation to generation. We thank them for sharing their cultures, spiritualities, and ways of living with the land in this place we all now call home. We pay respect to the elders past, present, and emerging. May we continue to walk gently and respectfully together with each other into the future. My name is Sylvana Simon, and on behalf of the Queensland Faith Communities Council, I'm doing an introductory talk about the Baha'i faith. There's only one Baha'i faith. I don't represent the community officially in any capacity. I'm a member of the community. I will share those teachings in the texts that we as Baha'is all refer to. So the Baha'i faith is the youngest of the world's independent religions. The founder, Baha'u'llah, was born in 1817 and died in 1892. The faith is regarded by the Baha'is as the most recent in a line of messengers of God that stretches back beyond recorded time and includes Abraham, Moses, Buddha, Zoroaster, Christ, and Muhammad. As of 2016, there were just under 14,000 Baha'is in Australia. Approximately half of them come from Iran. We call them Persian, the old term, and they fled from persecution in Iran, most of them, not all. And in Iran, the faith has its origins, and it remains the largest religious minority, but there's been a lot of persecution of the Baha'is, and at the moment there's another increase in that. The Baha'i community, however, contains people of all backgrounds. Its membership represents the diversity of the Australian population. The central theme of Baha'u'llah's message is that humanity is a single race and that the day has come for its unification into a global society. God, Baha'u'llah said, has set in motion historical forces that are breaking down traditional barriers of race, class, creed, and nation, and that will in time give birth to a universal civilization. And like any form of breaking down, there's a lot of discomfort along the way. The central theme of Baha'u'llah's message is that humanity is a single race. He said the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens. And he also said that the time has come for unification into a global society. And obviously at the time that he said that, that was a very strange notion. He said that Baha'u'llah's coming has set in motion historical forces that are breaking down traditional barriers of race, class, creed, and nation that will in time give birth to a universal civilization. He also talked about unity in diversity. So this universal civilization doesn't mean sameness, it means unity of those component parts working together. There's no clergy in the Baha'i faith, and elected bodies known as local spiritual assemblies administer the affairs of the community on a local basis. They're elected each year, as are the National Spiritual Assembly, who administer the affairs of the country. In Australia, the National Assembly is based at the Baha'i Centre near the Baha'i House of Worship at Mona Vale, outside Sydney. Throughout the 40 years of Baha'u'llah's imprisonment, he wrote over 100 letters and books which comprise the principal scriptures of the Baha'i faith. In these texts are found the principles, teachings, prayers and laws that guide the Baha'i community. And whenever there's an issue, we always refer back to those writings. They are further interpreted and amplified by the writings of Abdu'l-Baha, his eldest son, and Abdu'l-Baha's grandson, Shoghi Effendi, who was the guardian of the faith. Baha'u'llah's literary legacy includes the Kitab-i Aqdas, or the Most Holy Book, a repository of Baha'i law, the Kitab-i Igan, or the Book of Certitude, which is an exposition on the essential teachings of the nature of God and religion, the Hidden Words, which is a brief summary of all religious traditions, distillation aimed at edifying human souls, and the Seven Valleys, a mystic treatise that describes the 7 stages which the soul of the seeker needs to traverse to gain the object of its existence. The Epistle to the Son of the Wolf, his latest major work, as well as innumerable prayers, meditations, exhortations and epistles. So there is no one text in the faith. Baha'is believe that there is only one God, and that is the same God that all people believe in that believe in God, but different religions and different cultures have given God a different name. We believe the agents of this process, that religion is the chief civilizing force in history, and the agents of this process have been divine messengers whom people have seen chiefly as the founders of separate religious systems, but whose common purpose has been to guide the human race to spiritual and moral maturity. Humanity is now coming of age. It is this that makes it possible for the unification of the human family. But we're going to go through a lot of strife before we get to that point. But ultimately, there will be the construction of a peaceful global society. Among the many principles which the Baha'i faith promotes as vital to the achievement of this goal are abandonment of all forms of prejudice, equality of women and men, which seems very common now, but in the days that Baha'u'llah said this, it was very radical. The elimination of extremes of poverty and wealth, the realisation of universal education. And Baha'u'llah talked about the importance of educating girls, and if you couldn't afford to educate all your children to the same extent, girls should be given preference because they're the educators of the next generation. Another principle is the responsibility of each person to engage in independent investigation of the truth. The establishment of a global commonwealth of nations, and as I said before, that's unity in diversity. The recognition that true religion is in harmony with reason and the pursuit of knowledge through science, and the adoption of a universally agreed upon auxiliary language and script. Baha'u'llah said it could be one that was created or one that we came to know would be global, and yes, English is starting to look like that. As a worldwide community with more than 2,100 ethnic and tribal groups in over 230 countries and territories, the Baha'i faith is the most culturally diverse, one of the most culturally diverse bodies of people. The structures that govern Baha'i community life are designed to both enable this diversity and maintain the essential unity of the faith. The centrepiece of Baha'i community life is the 19-day feast. It consists of a devotional, consultative and social portion. Every 19 days, Baha'is meet at a gathering for a few hours, often or usually held in each other's homes, not in a place of worship. that's central, although we do have a Baha'i centre in Brisbane, but it's not big enough for everybody. We don't all go to that one spot. At the Baha'i feast, we have devotions, consultation, and fellowship. And as with marriages, burials, and other elements of Baha'i community life, there exists a lot of variation across the globe as to how that is culturally expressed. It just needs to have those three parts. Baha'is worldwide have a unique calendar, as I mentioned, and the first day of the new year is March the 21st. That's astronomically fixed to commence the Baha'i year on the spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere. The festival of Rezvan, commencing on April the 21st, goes for 12 days. That was a commemoration of the time when Baha'u'llah proclaimed his mission as God's messenger for this age in a garden called the Rezvan Garden, or Paradise, in Baghdad, in Iraq, in 1863. He was there because of banishment from Persia. Work is suspended on the 1st, the 9th, and the 12th days of Rezvan. The declaration of the Bab in May is the commemoration of the day in 1844 when the Bab, the prophet herald of the Baha'i faith, announced in Shiraz, Persia, that he was the herald of a new messenger of God. The Ascension of Baha'u'llah is May the 29th, observance of the anniversary of the death of Baha'u'llah in 1892. The martyrdom of the Bab, that herald that I mentioned before, is on July the 9th, and observance of the anniversary, and that's observance of the anniversary of his execution by firing squad in Tabriz, Persia, in 1850. He was 30 years old. The birth of the Bab in October. His observance is the anniversary of his birth in 1819 in Shiraz. He was born Sayyid Ali Muhammad, and he later took the title of the Bab, or Gate. He was the gateway. He came to prepare the way for Baha'u'llah. The birth of Baha'u'llah is November the 12th. We're now celebrating it slightly differently because we've gone to a lunar calendar. The observance of the anniversary of the birth of Baha'u'llah, he was born Mirza Hussain Ali in 1817 in Nur, Persia. Baha'u'llah means the glory of God. And one of the Baha'i months, the last Baha'i month of the year, is the fast, which begins on the 2nd, usually according to the calendar, that it changes once again with the moon, but it's the 2nd to around the 19th, 20th, 21st. The fast ends and Nowruz begins. The fast is between sunrise and sunset. We don't eat or drink, but it's only for people over the age of 15 or under 70, and there are exemptions for those who are pregnant or breastfeeding or travelling or sick. There are quite a few exemptions. From the Baha'i point of view, true health extends beyond the physical. For an individual and a community to be healthy, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, and physical well-being are all required. As humanity's understanding increases regarding the connection between the spiritual and emotional well-being of a patient and how this can affect their physical health, physicians and other healthcare providers will come to appreciate the benefit of understanding the beliefs and religious practices of their patients in order to provide optimal care for them. The Baha'i faith teaches that individuals seek assistance of competent physicians for medical treatment. Since the Baha'i faith teaches that true science and religion cannot contradict each other, the application of medical and technological advances does not contradict Baha'i beliefs. So consulting with experts for somatic and psychological conditions is strongly encouraged. And there are no limitations on any drugs prescribed for Baha'is. There is no problem, according to Baha'i law, for Baha'is to give or receive organ transplants or leave their body to science if they want to. With the stipulation, if they're an adult, they need to leave it in their will, but parents can speak for their children, is that the body must not be cremated and should be buried within an hour's journey of the place of death. And no embalming is to take place because of that gentle decomposition of the body being important. There's just a few things that I'd like to mention about caring for Baha'is in hospital, and a lot of them are things that aren't, they're not a problem. There's no dietary requirements for Baha'is. There is talk in the writings about the importance of good nutrition, but that's not anything new. There's no problem with any medication. Patients can receive whatever medication their doctor wants them to have. There's no problem with blood transfusions or anything else, because once again that connection between science and religion is very important, and having a competent physician is the one who has the authority in consultation with parents in relation to a child. In relation to a Baha'i child, for comfort, the important thing is the presence of family and friends and staff that the child understands are caring for them. And there's no problem with prayers being said not only by family and friends, but also from people from other religions. If there were people there, we read from Baha'i scriptures, the Bible, the Quran, holy books and other inspirational texts can be read for comforting a child. There's nothing specific. There are some children's prayers, and that would be something nice if the staff said that with the child, if it was appropriate. There's a little prayer: "O God, guide me, protect me, illumine the lamp of my heart, and make me a brilliant star. Thou art the mighty and the powerful." And there's a healing prayer revealed by Baha'u'llah, the prophet and founder of the Baha'i faith, during his imprisonment in Akka in Palestine. And the healing prayer is, "Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succour in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise." And although that language might sound a little bit old for a child, Baha'i children do say these prayers and do understand this language. The subject of euthanasia and other types of pain relief that might lead to demise is something left to the laws of the land and the authority of the family. The basic premise is that God gives life and God takes it away. But that's not something that's specifically been legislated on at this stage in the faith. So it's left up to the conscience of the individual people who have the authority to make those decisions. Just like to end with a little quote about the beliefs of life and death. One of those quotes that relate to that. "Know thou of a truth that the soul, after its separation from the body, will continue to progress until it attaineth the presence of God, in a state and condition which neither the revolution of ages and centuries, nor the changes and chances of the world can alter. It will endure as long as the kingdom of God, His sovereignty, His dominion and power will endure." And I'd just like to thank finish by thanking the medical and nursing staff and any other caregivers for taking the time to look at this video with the object of understanding Baha'is in their care. We really appreciate everything you do. Thank you.